Imagine this. You're walking down the street, minding your own business, when someone comes up to you and says something that cuts deep. Maybe they mock your appearance. Maybe they question your worth. Maybe they try to tear down everything you've built. What do? Most people, they explode, they get angry, they defend themselves frantically, they let their emotions take control. But here's what the ancient masters knew 500 years ago, and what most people will never understand. He who lets himself be moved by insults is already defeated. You see, the moment you react, you've already lost. The moment you let someone else control your emotions, you've handed them your power on a silver plate. But what if I told you there's another way? What if I told you that you could reach a state where no one, and I mean no one, could disturb your peace? Where insults bounce off you like water off stone, where you become so mentally untouchable that people start to fear your calmness more than they fear anyone's anger. That's exactly what this video will teach you. These aren't just tips. These are the dark laws of mental mastery that the great strategists of the Renaissance would have used to stay unshakable in a world full of chaos. By the end of this video, you'll know how to become the person who never gets bothered, never loses control, and never gives anyone the satisfaction of seeing you break. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I am untouchable. The principle of detachment from the old wisdom keepers. Before we dive into the laws, you need to understand this fundamental truth. People can only bother you when you give them permission. Think about it. When someone insults you, the insult itself is just words, just sounds coming out of their mouth. The power doesn't come from their words. It comes from your reaction to those words. Power begins where reactions end. Most people think being unbothered means being weak, being passive, being a pushover. They couldn't be more wrong. Indifference isn't weakness, it's dominance. It's the ultimate form of control. When you stop reacting to people's attempts to provoke you, you rob them of their power. You become the master of your own emotional state. You become dangerous. And that's exactly what we're going to make you. Dangerous in the best possible way. Dangerous because you're unpredictable. Dangerous because you can't be manipulated. Dangerous because you're in complete control. Here are the 10 dark laws forged in the fires of 1513 that will make you unbothered, untouchable, and unstoppable. Law 1. Expect disrespect before it arrives. Most people walk through life expecting fairness. They expect people to be kind, to be respectful, to play by the rules. And when people don't, they're shocked, they're hurt, they're unprepared. But the shrewd counselors of old understood. Disrespect isn't an accident, it's a strategy. People use it to test you, to control you, to see if they can get under your skin. When you expect betrayal, envy, and mockery, nothing surprises you. When you're prepared for the worst behavior humans can offer, you become unshakable. Think of it like this. If you're walking through a dangerous neighborhood, you don't act surprised when you see crime. You're prepared, you're alert, you're ready. Life is that dangerous neighborhood, and most people are walking through it with their guard down, wondering why they keep getting hurt. The wisdom written in the courts of Florence once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The wise person prepares for disrespect. The fool gets caught off guard every single time. When you expect people to try to bother you, their attempts become predictable. When their attempts become predictable, they lose all power over you. This doesn't make you cynical, it makes you realistic. It makes you prepared. It makes you strong. From today forward, assume that some people will try to disrespect you. Assume that some people will try to tear you down. When you're prepared for it, you can handle it with ice-cold calmness. Law 2. Master the art of silence. Here's something most people don't realize. Your silence is more powerful than any comeback you could ever deliver. When someone tries to provoke you, when they insult you, mock you, or try to start an argument, they're looking for one thing: your reaction. They want to see you get angry. They want to see you defend yourself. They want to see you lose control. Your reaction is their victory. Your silence is yours. Think about the last time someone tried to provoke you and you stayed completely silent. What happened? They probably got uncomfortable. They probably tried harder. They probably started to doubt themselves. That's the power of silence. When you don't give them the reaction they're looking for, you force them to question everything. Did their insult not work? Are you stronger than they thought? Are you planning something? Silence creates mystery, mystery creates fear, fear creates respect. The cold wisdom of the Italian courts once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Your silence makes you unpredictable. Unpredictable people are dangerous. Dangerous people are respected. But here's the key. Your silence can't be the silence of someone who's hurt and doesn't know what to say. It has to be the silence of someone who's choosing not to respond. There's a massive difference. The hurt person's silence screams weakness. The choosing person's silence whispers power. How do you develop this kind of silence? Practice. The next time someone tries to provoke you, count to 10 before you respond. Then count to 20. Then try staying silent altogether. Watch how they react. Watch how uncomfortable they become. Watch how your silence kills their ego more effectively than any insult ever could. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. Silence is strength. Law 3. Never let emotions betray you. Rage, tears, over-explaining. These are all signs of weakness that your enemies will use against you. The moment you show uncontrolled emotion, you've revealed where they can hurt you. You've shown them your weak spots. But most people don't understand. You don't have to eliminate emotions. You have to control them. There's a massive difference between feeling angry and showing anger. The master feels everything but shows nothing. The amateur shows everything and controls nothing. When someone tries to provoke you, you might feel that fire rising in your chest. Your heart might start racing. Your hands might start shaking. That's normal. That's human. But what separates the strong from the weak is what happens next. The weak person lets those emotions control their actions. The strong person acknowledges those emotions and then decides how to respond. The timeless doctrine written in 1513 once said, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." Emotional control makes you unpredictable. When people can't predict your emotional responses, they can't manipulate you. When they can't manipulate you, they start to fear you. Show calmness even when you're burning inside. That's real dominance. That's real power. Here's a technique that works. When you feel strong emotions rising, take a deep breath and imagine you're watching the situation happen to someone else. What advice would you give that person? How would you want them to respond? This mental distance gives you the space you need to choose your response instead of just reacting. Remember, emotions are information, not commands. They tell you something is happening, but they don't get to decide what you do about it. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I control myself. Law 4. Control the frame, never defend. Here's a mistake that destroys most people's power. They defend too much. When someone insults you or attacks your character, your natural instinct is to defend yourself. You want to explain why they're wrong. You want to justify your actions. You want to prove your worth. But here's what the Renaissance power brokers knew. If you defend too much, you admit weakness. Think about it. Strong people don't need to defend themselves constantly. Confident people don't need to justify every decision. Powerful people don't need to prove their worth to everyone who questions it. When you defend, you're playing their game by their rules. You're accepting their frame of the situation. You're admitting that their opinion matters enough to change your behavior. Instead, you need to control the frame. You need to make them play your game by your rules. How do you do this? Instead of defending, you reframe. Instead of explaining, you redirect. Instead of proving, you dismiss. For example, if someone says you're not smart enough for that job, instead of listing all your qualifications, you might say, "That's an interesting opinion," and then change the subject. Or you might just laugh and say nothing at all. You're not engaging with their attempt to put you in a defensive position. You're showing that their opinion doesn't warrant a serious response. The old Florentine school of power once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." When you refuse to defend yourself against every petty attack, you appear stronger. When you control the frame of every interaction, you become the dominant force in the conversation. This doesn't mean you never stand up for yourself. It means you choose when and how to respond based on what serves your interests, not based on your emotional reactions. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I control frames. Law 5. Detach from opinions, good or bad. This law will shock most people. You need to detach from all opinions about you, both good and bad. Most people think the problem is caring too much about criticism, but that's only half the problem. The other half is caring too much about praise. When you need praise to feel good about yourself, you become just as fragile as someone who's destroyed by criticism. You become dependent on other people's opinions for your self-worth. Praise and criticism are both chains. They both make you dependent on external validation. They both rob you of your inner strength. Think about it. If you need people to tell you you're good to feel good, then you also need to worry about people telling you you're bad. If you depend on compliments, you'll also be vulnerable to insults. The truly strong person stands on their own foundation, their values, their discipline, their internal compass. This doesn't mean you ignore all feedback. It means you evaluate feedback based on its usefulness, not based on whether it makes you feel good or bad. Is this criticism helping you improve? Then listen to it. Is this praise accurate and motivating? Then appreciate it. But neither should control your emotional state or self-image. The hard-earned wisdom of the old courts once said, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." Surround yourself with people whose opinions actually matter, people who know you deeply, people who want the best for you, people who have proven their wisdom over time. Everyone else, their opinions are just noise. Treat them as such. When you stop needing external validation, you become truly free. When you stop fearing external criticism, you become truly powerful. Here's a practice that helps. For 1 week, try to go without seeking any validation from others. Don't fish for compliments. Don't ask if people liked your work. Don't check how many likes your posts got. Notice how this feels. Notice how it changes your behavior. Notice how much mental energy you save when you're not constantly seeking approval. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I validate myself. Law 6, reward control, punish reaction. This law is about training your own mind like you would train a champion athlete. Every time you remain calm when someone tries to provoke you, you need to reward yourself. Every time you react emotionally when you could have stayed controlled, you need to punish yourself with discipline. This isn't about being harsh with yourself. This is about creating the right incentives for the behavior you want. Your brain learns through consequences. If staying calm feels good and reacting feels bad, your brain will naturally start choosing calm over reaction. How this works practically: when you successfully stay calm in a provoking situation, do something nice for yourself. Buy yourself something small. Take a relaxing bath. Watch your favorite movie, whatever makes you feel good. When you react emotionally when you could have stayed controlled, do something that requires discipline. Extra workout, cold shower, no entertainment for the evening, whatever pushes you slightly outside your comfort zone. Over time, your subconscious mind starts to associate staying calm with pleasure and reacting with discomfort. This makes self-control automatic instead of forced. Most people try to build self-control through willpower alone, but willpower is limited. It gets tired, it fails when you need it most. Smart people build self-control through systems. They make the right choice, the easy choice. The sharp minds who shaped the 1500s once said, "Men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that the one who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived." Don't deceive yourself into thinking you can rely on willpower forever. Build systems that make you stronger automatically. The goal is to reach a point where staying calm feels natural and reacting feels foreign, where your default response to provocation is ice-cold composure. This takes time. This takes consistency. But the payoff is becoming literally unbotherable. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I train myself. Law 7, use indifference as a weapon. Most people think they need to fight back when someone attacks them. They think they need to defend themselves, argue, or prove the attacker wrong. But masters understand, the more you don't care, the more they care. The more indifferent you become, the more desperate they become for your reaction. Indifference frustrates manipulators more than anger ever could. When you get angry, you're giving them what they want, proof that they can control your emotions. But when you're indifferent, you're showing them they have no power over you at all. Think about someone in your life who genuinely doesn't care what others think of them. How do people react to that person? They usually either respect them or desperately try to get their attention. That's the power of indifference. When someone insults you and you respond with complete indifference, not coldness, not rudeness, just genuine lack of concern, it's devastating to their ego. They expected anger, they expected hurt, they expected some kind of reaction. Instead, they got nothing. They got treated like they don't matter. Your lack of reaction becomes heavier than any words you could have said. But here's the key. This has to be genuine indifference, not fake indifference. People can tell the difference. Fake indifference comes across as trying too hard. Real indifference comes across as natural strength. How do you develop real indifference? You focus on what actually matters to you. You invest your emotional energy in your goals, your relationships, your growth. You have bigger things to think about than what random people say about you. The battle-tested proverbs of old Italy once said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." Be the fox when people try to trap you with provocations. Recognize the trap and avoid it completely. Be indifferent to their attempts to control you. Law 8, redirect energy into power. Every time someone tries to provoke you, insult you, or tear you down, they're giving you energy. The question is, what are you going to do with that energy? Most people waste it. They use that energy to get angry, to argue, to worry about what people think. They burn themselves out fighting small battles that don't matter. But smart people take that energy and redirect it into building their strength, their skills, their empire. Someone says you'll never succeed. Let that fuel your work ethic. Someone mocks your appearance. Let that motivate your fitness routine. Someone questions your intelligence. Let that drive your learning. Every insult becomes fuel, but only if you don't burn yourself with it. Think about it this way. When someone attacks you, they're telling you something about themselves. They're revealing their own insecurities, their own fears, their own weaknesses. They're also giving you information about what they think might hurt you. Use that information. If they think your weakness is your appearance, make your appearance a strength. If they think your weakness is your skills, make your skills undeniable. Don't waste energy fighting small battles with small people. Use that energy to become so strong that their attacks become irrelevant. The uncompromising philosophy written in the shadow of the Medici once said, "I'm not interested in preserving the status quo. I want to overthrow it." Overthrow their expectations. Overthrow their attempts to limit you. Use every attack as motivation to rise higher. This is the difference between victims and victors. Victims let attacks weaken them. Victors let attacks strengthen them. The next time someone says something negative about you, instead of defending yourself or getting upset, ask yourself, how can I use this as motivation to improve? Turn every critic into an unwitting coach. Turn every attack into inspiration. Law 9, let go with cold calculation. Most people think they have two choices when someone wrongs them: forgive and forget, or seek revenge. But the cold strategists of the old world knew there was a third option: cold calculation. Vengeance is a tool, not an obligation. You don't owe it to yourself to get back at everyone who wrongs you. You don't need to prove your strength by fighting every battle. Sometimes revenge benefits you. It protects your reputation, sends a message to others, or serves your long-term interests. In those cases, strike later when you have the advantage. But more often, revenge costs more than it's worth. It takes your time, your energy, your focus away from building your own success. The truly strong person chooses when to care and when to be done. They don't let their emotions make that decision for them. How you make this calculation: will pursuing this benefit me in any concrete way? Will it advance my goals? Will it protect something important to me? Will it teach others not to mess with me? If the answer is yes, then plan your response strategically. If the answer is no, then let it go completely. This isn't about being weak or passive. This is about being strategic. This is about not letting other people dictate how you spend your limited time and energy. The iron logic of the old power manuscripts once said, "Never was anything great achieved without danger." But that same ancient understanding also knew that not every danger is worth facing. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every person is worth your attention. The master picks their battles carefully. They fight when it serves them and walk away when it doesn't. Most people let their pride make these decisions. They fight because they feel they have to, not because they strategically should. But pride is expensive. Pride makes you predictable. Pride makes you weak. Cold calculation makes you powerful. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose wisely. Law 10. Become untouchable through detachment. People can only bother you when they find a way in. When they discover something you care about so much that you'll sacrifice your peace to defend it. But when you're truly detached, when nothing outside of yourself controls your inner peace, you become untouchable. This doesn't mean you don't care about anything. It means you don't let your caring make you vulnerable to manipulation. You can love your family without letting threats against them control your decisions. You can be proud of your work without letting criticism of it destroy your confidence. You can want success without letting setbacks devastate your spirit. Detachment means you have preferences, not dependencies. You want things, but you don't need them for your basic sense of self-worth and peace. When nothing outside controls your peace, people lose their power over you. When people can't manipulate your emotions, they can't manipulate your behavior. This makes you dangerous in the best possible way. Not dangerous because you'll hurt others, but dangerous because others can't hurt you. Think about the most untouchable person you know. What makes them that way? It's probably not that they don't care about anything. It's that they don't let their caring make them desperate, needy, or controllable. The enduring wisdom of those who survived the courts of power once said, "He who is highly esteemed is not easily conspired against." When you're untouchable, people respect you. They might not always like you, but they respect your strength. They respect your self-control. They respect your independence. And respect is more valuable than affection, because respect lasts longer and runs deeper. To develop this detachment, practice holding things lightly. Enjoy your successes without clinging to them. Learn from your failures without being destroyed by them. Value your relationships without being desperate for approval. The goal is to reach a point where you're fully engaged with life, but not dependent on any particular outcome for your happiness. If you've made it this far, you now possess something most people will never have: the knowledge of how to become truly unbothered. These 10 laws aren't just theories. They're practical weapons you can use starting today to transform yourself into someone who cannot be shaken, cannot be manipulated, and cannot be controlled by the actions of others. Remember, indifference is not weakness, it is sovereignty. It is the crown only the strong can wear. When someone tries to provoke you tomorrow, you'll remember Law 2 and respond with powerful silence. When someone criticizes you next week, you'll remember Law 5 and remain detached from their opinion. When someone tries to drag you into their drama next month, you'll remember Law 10 and stay untouchable. But here's the thing, knowledge without action is useless. These laws only work if you use them. They only change your life if you change your behavior. Start with one law. Pick the one that resonated with you most. Practice it for the next week. Master it, then add another. Before you know it, you'll be the person everyone wonders about. The person who stays calm when everyone else loses their minds. The person who seems immune to the chaos that destroys others. You'll be untouchable. If this video helped you understand something important about power and self-control, hit that like button. Share this video with someone in your life who gets bothered too easily, someone who reacts to every provocation, someone who needs to learn these laws. And if you want to learn more secrets of power, influence, and mental strength that most people never discover, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. I'm going to teach you everything the masters knew, but never shared publicly. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I am cold, calm, untouchable. The weak react, the strong respond. The masters don't need to do either. They simply exist in a state of unshakable power. Which one will you be?